From ELIZA to ChatGPT, the evolution of NLP. So this is a reading on natural language processing, which is applying computers to text and creating programs which can understand text and even respond. And we're obviously thinking about it from a financial perspective, how a fund manager is using these products to engage in stock selection, how a fund manager is using these products to assess risks and look for red flags that certain risks apply to certain situations. So the need to know concepts here, we discuss an evolution of NLP models. There's 5 stages here. You should be able to come up with the different types of models that were used in different stages and give a very brief description of those models. You should also be focusing on the limitations of the different types of models. Indeed, we end up talking about the limitations of GPT models, generalized pre-trained transformers, which is what ChatGPT is a version of and is the most current and most advanced form of natural language processor. But applications looking forward, we can think about applications in risk management, asset management and impact investing, applying the analysis, these programs to text to help us to carry out these roles. Okay, so first thing we should do really in this reading is define what natural language processing is. It's a computer program used to analyze text. We hope that it can extract meaning, identify names, identify places, perform tasks like tell us about what's going on in the text, tell us about what topics are addressed, tell us about patterns that occur in the text which flow through into decisions that we might want to make about the text, like, for example, sentiment analysis. A big deal in fund management has been taking earnings call and looking for the frequency of words to assess whether the management are positive or negative about their outlook. So these kind of sentiment analyses are what we can do once we understand what the text is saying, and also potentially we can generate responses as well. In fact, that very early form of natural language processor, ELIZA, the earliest form of NLP that's mentioned in the text, was actually a very early form of chatbot, and it was supposed to be replicating how a therapist would talk in very simple terms. It really just encourages people to say more about what they're already talking about. And asks them how it makes them feel, what they're talking about. But of course therapists do more than that, I hear. But if you can, one thing that's very tempting with this reading, and tempting very generally these days, is to go out and use a GPT model to engage in anything from advanced laser precision Googling for you, or to generate, I think that's where it gets controversial, if you get these things to generate responses, then you are essentially using it as a, you could be using it in an unethical manner if you're submitting that as your a thesis or something like that in an examination. But of course we haven't got that problem here. We're not going to do that, firstly. And secondly, the exam that we take is under conditions where we can't use these types of machines to generate information that we then can claim we generated. But these are some of the ethical issues that we're seeing come into play with the immensely powerful and deeply insightful chat bots. ChatGPT is a system that is geared towards engaging in human-like conversation. It does a very good job at that. You can ask these processors to behave like early chatbots and see how they talk then. That might be a useful thing to do. The growth in these natural language processing models has been driven by, it's been driven by the same things that have driven machine learning really over the last couple of decades, and that is the emergence of big data. Data everywhere from lots of different sources, us all going online and essentially ploughing data into machines which has been harvested and stored and used by central companies like the social media companies and the communication companies. So that big data is out there. It's out there from all sorts of different sources, different sources to what we had